We are officially recording now. I want to welcome everyone to the first in a series of workshops or webinars on AI that we're going to be hosting through the Immersive Learning Bootcamp. We are an NSF-funded project entering our third year, run out of St. Cloud Technical Community College, Dakota Technical College, and Northland Technical and Community College. Our overarching purpose is to really focus on XR and immersive technologies, but since AI has kind of sucked all the oxygen out of the room, we figured maybe we should talk a little AI because it's kind of fun to talk AI in today's world. I teach biology at St. Cloud Technical and Community College. I'm the PI of the project, but Matt is one of our lead PI at Dakota, and he is going to take it from here and talk about transportation and how AI can be leveraged to improve that educationally.
Awesome. Dave, did we want to talk quickly about AI in general, or did we want to just jump directly into examples of what we can use it in transportation?
Well, maybe we should launch that poll first. So to begin, why don't let me launch this poll just to get a little idea as far as how you all, the familiarity of you with you have with AI. So we'll give everybody a few seconds here to.
Nice.
Take the poll. Can everybody see the answers yet or not? Looks like we've got 5 out of 6 have taken. 5 out of 5. Okay. So Matt, you can see the answers, right?
Yes. Yep.
So the
So
question
it looks
is,
like, yeah.
do you want me to launch the second poll to see what they're using?
Yeah, that'd be good. Do that.
Okay. Kate, you got the answers there? Okay. Sounds good. Well, I guess I can share them there.
Oh, yep.
So let me launch the, where's my second poll? Here we go. So if you're using AI, what are you using?
It's gonna run away, isn't it?
I think it is. I think it is. Oh, well, there we go. We're going to end that and share it. We are definitely a GPT group here, although there's one that's following Min-State rules and using Copilot.
Yeah.
Nobody's using the rest of them there though. So, okay, Matt, go ahead. You know the basis of where they are. Go
David,
ahead.
can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yes.
What do you mean by min-state rules as far as Copilot goes?
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize that there was a rule.
Oh, there are. We as Minnesota State faculty and staff have access to Copilot, and that is what we are supposed to be using as far as any AI tool. I will say personally that I'm not a big fan of Copilot. I find that others are better, but Mid-State policy says that is what if we're going to use it, that's what they want us to use. If we're going to integrate it into our classroom, that's how we're supposed to direct students to use it as well.
Well, yeah, okay. I'll be quiet.
No, you're good, Todd. Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah. So yes, what they said is, for the most part, they encourage the use of Copilot if we're integrated in the classroom because our students have access to that as part of their O365 license, right? Not saying that we can't use the other ones, it's just not as easy when it comes to integrating that into the classroom. As for like personal use, if you're using it to generate any of your curriculum, you are free to use whatever you choose to, especially if you're deciding to pay for any any premium subscriptions, which I will show you a couple examples of items that you can use the premium for that might be worth the investment. Most of them are somewhere in the ballpark of like $20 for the premium license, as for, let's say, Copilot, or not Copilot, ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, or whoever you decide that you want to use. But there are numerous options out there. For the most part, almost all of them are going to do all the stuff that I'm going to talk about today, or the examples that I give. You'll be able to do that with those. My main examples, I'm going to bounce between ChatGPT just because I have a premium license to that. And then I will also show some stuff maybe in Copilot, just so that you know what you can use maybe with the students in the classroom with their license. So that's kind of the idea. Has anybody integrated AI into your coursework at all, your classroom work with your students? Just out of curiosity. If not, that's okay. Maybe that's why we're here. So this last summer we had part of the grant project. We talked quite extensively about AI, and then when I got home from that, of course, my thinking right away is like, how can I use this in the classroom? How can I integrate this in there so that way my students are more engaged? Also, how can it help me build curriculum within my classroom and within my program? So I started just coming up with ideas. And first thing I did, of course, was just ask ChatGPT. I'm an automotive instructor. How can I use this? And it gave me quite a few examples that I thought were pretty slick. And then as I looked at those examples and I started playing with them, I started to find more and more ways that I could integrate this into my classroom. And I'm going to just share a few of them today, just because I don't want to overwhelm you with all of the stuff that I've done with it. But can everyone see my screen? I've got the PowerPoint that I created for the Immersive Learning grant project, and I also have ChatGPT up. Is that
Yeah,
seen?
that looks great. Yep.
Perfect. Okay. Of course, I always have the Zoom bar like right in the way. So I made this PowerPoint, and I will probably share this PowerPoint out with everybody, so that way you can kind of look through some of the topics that I've come up with. And then if you had specific questions, you can always reach out to me on any particular one of them. But we'll just kind of start at the beginning, or at least with some of the ones I found are the most beneficial. Come on, mouse. There we go. If you're a ASC Education Foundation program, one of the ones that I think would be the most beneficial to review is one that you can create basic task sheets out of. So here, what you can do is you can have ChatGPT create a ASC Education Foundation task sheet by looking at the ASC Education Foundation standards that are listed on ASC's website. And then you can pull that PDF into ChatGPT, and you can ask it to create you an ASC Education Foundation task sheet, along with listing all of the standards that the tasks meet. So that way, when you're getting ready to do your ASC Education Foundation accreditation, you have all the documentation that you need listed right on the worksheet. Makes it really slick and easy. So I'm just going to show you an example quick on what this looks like. Show you hands up, like real world scenario. I'm going to attach a file, that file that I downloaded earlier from ASC Education Foundation. It's on my desktop. I got this file directly from the ASC Education Foundation resources under Program Standards. You can find the Auto Program Standards 2024. And then this is the document that ChatGPT is referencing to be able to then pull those standards and create the task sheet that I want. So it's really as simple as, oops, darn it. That's what I get for using my keyboard. I'm gonna use this one. Task sheet based on So when you're talking to AI, you want to talk to it as though you're a person, as though it is a person. I mean, you are a person clearly, as though it was a person, and you tell it what exactly you want it to do. The best result is going to come with a good formed prompt. So the more detailed you are in the prompt, the better the output is going to be, or the replacement of the, we'll say thermostat. Yeah. List the standards task meets at the end of the sheet. And then we'll see what it comes out with. And sometimes you might have to tweak it a little bit once you get the output from whatever it makes. And then you go ahead and you can either change the prompt a little bit and it will redo it, or you can go ahead and tweak it yourself by putting this into a Word document and then just doing minor tweaks on your own. Sometimes I found that's the easiest way to go about it, is like it does a really good job of building the main core part of it for you, and then put it into a Word document, or I say it actually can put it into a Word document for you, and then go ahead and tweak it as you need. But here you see it, not only does it give you the actual task, but it lists out all the tools that are required for it. Lists the objective, lists the procedure, tells you if you need any personal protection equipment, and so on. And like I said, it does a really good job of creating that kind of core basic task sheet. And then at the end of it, it gives you the evaluation part of it, where you evaluate the student on how they performed that task. And then if you look down below, here it shows the related ASE Education Foundation standards that this sheet met, which is pretty cool. You can actually have it too, instead of it just saying, hey, it's a P1 task, you can have it list which exact standard area that it is in, that standard is in. So what I'm talking about here is, if we scroll through the standards, of course, it's a really long document, so I apologize. But if we're looking, let's just say an example, engine repair, it would say it's under the MAST category IA for general, and then number 1, along with if it's a P1, P2, P3 type task. So it will do this for you too if you prompt it the right way. So, but the nice thing is it pulls all that stuff in there for you. You don't have to go looking for it when it comes to those ASE standards. So there's one cool example. Questions on that one right away?
I could make a brief comment, is
Yeah.
just for like a second, as it was developing all the ideas there, I had just a brief moment of fear. Because I'm like, this is amazingly powerful. That's like a whole bunch of human level large language model process, substitute by a large language model processing that's super efficient, super fast, and it understood your instructions. And that's that's some high level thinking or processing. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yep.
And
Thanks,
useful.
Wes.
I'm going to try that for philosophy. I teach philosophy. I'm going to give that a try later tonight. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else have any thoughts or questions on the ASE task sheet part of it?
I know this is probably a silly question, but you kind of mentioned like if you talk to it as a human, do you find
Yeah.
that
I th yeah.
as I'm like using it, I find myself becoming more polite to it and asking it for please and thank you because it almost seems like there's somebody on the other side. Have you noticed any results like one way or another as you become nicer? Does it give you more? Just a general question, I guess.
Yeah, that's a great question, Lou. Yes, in a way, but also if you tend to tell the AI what it is, we'll just say you are an expert in this field, it will tend to give you better results than if you don't.
Oh
So
my
if you,
goodness.
yeah, if you have it play a role, it will actually do a better job of the output that it provides you.
Wow.
Like a mindset for say, they kind of program themselves as that vantage point.
Yep.
And not only that, but
Really cool.
if you tell it that it gave you a good response, so if you, as it gives you a response, you say, that's exactly what I was looking for. It also helps it identify what it is that you're looking for with that prompt.
Oh, wow. So you can
And
really
Okay.
steer it.
you can, and I'll tell you this from a colleague's perspective, there are times if you're mean to it, it will start going off the guardrails at times. And
Wow.
sometimes it is hard to get that back on track where you're just going to have to shut the session down and start over again because it just got abused,
Hmm.
which is really kind of weird. There's no humanity to it. It is strictly ones and zeros, but there is some of that. Wes, as you were thinking from a philosophy perspective, Matt is using ChatGPT 4.0. There is a new beta version, which is 1.0, which has even higher level logic and is passing a lot of the thought problems that most LLMs get tripped up on.
Okay. Okay.
So
Mm.
Matt, when Matt has is done here, he can show you up the top how you can select GPT 4.0, and now there's actually 4.0 with Canvas, which is a different way to do it. So the
Yep.
0.1 preview there has advanced reasoning,
Which is
and
right
you
here.
only you only get a certain number of them that you can use. But if your philosophy, that I'd be really interested to see
Yeah.
how that perspective works in with O1. So go ahead, Matt.
So I'm going to do one more thing here just because I really like doing this within my task sheets. I like to add theory-based questions
Mm.
within the task sheet for students to answer. Oops. Typing too fast. So here now it's going to add in theory-based questions to the task sheet. So that way they have to not only just answer, when they get to certain points of getting that, thermostat out of it, but here there's questions now that they've got to add in, or answers they got to, questions they have to answer as part of the task sheet.
Yeah.
So isn't that neat?
Cool.
Yep. So this is one of them that I've been using already in the shop area or in my program area because I've had to develop a lot of new test sheets now that I'm running the MCAT program for the first time. So this has been really a lifesaver when it comes to quickly being able to build at least a foundational task sheet. One thing I want to talk about with task sheets, if you have the premium subscription to ChatGPT, what I created, and you can also use it if you have the premium, I created a task sheet generator GPT. What these do is it's a custom GPT that kind of is pre-programmed to do certain things. In this case, I pre-programmed it to format a task sheet really easily by having the reference of that PDF without you having to provide it, each time that you're conversing with the AI. So in this case, I can say, make me a task sheet for, I don't know, throttle position sensor testing. And you see it already added the category, it added the subcategory, it added the task code and the priority level of it. So there you go. And again, if I wanted to have it add theoretical questions in there, it can do it for me. The other cool thing about this one is if I had a question, let me go, oh yeah, I got to do a new chat with it. I just want to ask it, what are the standards that relate to, let's say, transmission is going to be a lot. I'm going to do a smaller one. Thermostat, I guess. It can search the standards to find you any standards that relate to that item. In this case, I mean, there's only one for thermostat, but if I did it for, we're going to find that there's going to be a bunch of them. But this is like, it's a database that you can look up real quickly. What are the standards that I need to meet as a faculty to meet the ASE Education Foundation standards? They're all right there. You don't have to go to the ASE Education Foundation website to reference this. It's right here. Isn't that cool? So when it comes to task sheets, this one I have found very, very useful. If you're particularly interested in this Chat GPT custom one that I made, you can search it up under go to Explore GPTs, and then I called it the ASE task sheet generator, and you can go ahead and use it as part of your subscription. You don't have to pay anything additional for it. It is just part of that premium license that you got.
It's like part of
So
crowd sharing. Is that kind of the model? So it's all based, everybody has access to it. I see your names on it. So
yep.
that's kind of the original point.
Yeah, so it just
Really
shows
cool.
you who created it. And then you can share these custom GPTs. If someone else makes one that's automotive related that we find very useful, I can use that too. I'll show you another one that I came up with that I really, really, really like and is going to be great in our industry as a whole, not just for students. But these custom GPTs are really, really useful. So another one I want to jump onto that I hope you'll find really beneficial is the ability of ChatGPT or Copilot or whoever to make quizzes, specifically ASE style quizzes, which are, it's those questions that have a lot of critical thinking to them. Tech A says this, Tech B says this, and so on, to be able to kind of really understand what the question or what the answer to the question is based upon your knowledge of all things automotive. So I'm just going to say, create me a 10 question quiz. And we're going to say ASE style quiz on the topic of gasoline. And here you go. And I've read through a bunch of these, and if you asked me a year ago how accurate ChatGPT was, I would say had a lot to be desired. It was not stellar. It was not accurate. Now I have been just astounded by how accurate it is. Every once in a while you will find something that needs to be tweaked. So of course, the big thing about any of these AIs is you do, as a faculty, need to go through and read the questions and vet them and make sure that they're accurate. But for the most part, you're not going to have to do a whole lot of work on that because it has been quite accurate when it comes to the outputs of it.
Oh.
So crazy easy to do something like this. And then if you want, you can have it export to a Word document, and it will do that. So you'll see it'll analyze for a little bit, and then it will output me a file that I can download, which is a Word document.
Would you be able to enhance it even more by asking it for a key and an explanation of
Yes.
the answer?
Yes, and I've done that, and it works very well. So you can say, provide me an answer key along with the reasoning behind each one of the answers, and it will do it.
Wow.
So we will provide me an
Huh.
there you go.
That is unreal. That is so cool.
Yes, I love it. Like I said, you'll have to play
Amazing.
with it yourself just to see, when it comes down to the accuracy, you're going to be pretty, pretty overwhelmed by how accurate it is. It's nuts.
If we think about how we could implement this directly in the course, I bet it would export as an Excel. And if you
Yep.
had it right now it's got just the correct answers, but if you had it do the correct answer and explanations for all of the answers, both right and wrong, you could probably upload that directly into D2L as a quiz with maybe a little tweaking, and it would give students that immediate feedback of if they got it wrong, why they got it wrong, or why it wasn't the correct answer, which is always that formative assessment we're trying to give students of, well, they got it wrong, but now why did they get it wrong? That's a lot of work to do in D2L. But I think this would save a lot of that time if we were using that in that manner.
Yep. Agreed. Any questions on the on the quizzes? Like you can ask it to do multiple choice questions. You can have it do true false questions. You can have it do a combination of all of them. What are your thoughts, Todd? You got a question?
Yeah, Matt. So I believe Matt and I have a great relationship. And Matt can make his own decisions on that.
We
So
do.
if I say something that might come across a little aggressive, it's not intent. It's to have explore this conversation deeper, because Matt and I have been talking about this for a year plus. So respectfully to the educators in this call, I'm an advocate of AI, of whatever tool the college can afford, and however it's used. And Matt's done an outstanding job, and I appreciate the fact that we are so close in proximity and in relationship that I can ask Matt questions and talk about these things, because there's value here in this educational tool, and that's what I consider it. How much, and this is early in the conversation, and we don't know, I probably don't know the answer, no one really knows the answer, but if we look at using this as another tool, how much could this take away from faculty's experience in the shop in this scenario, Matt, and understanding this from a doing perspective compared to now being really good at Chat GPT or Copilot or whatever other tool in developing the question algorithm, whatever the right term is, to create the content? Is that understandable?
Yeah, I get where you're going with that, Todd. And sure, yeah, that's a concern. Um, it's kind of like how long can you prove that, or how long can you fake it until someone catches on that you really don't know,
Right.
what you're talking about.
Right.
Um, Now, I keep going back to what I have been telling my students when it comes to the use of ChatGPT and AI in general. If you use it as a crutch, or if you use it as a method to just, get yourself by, you're doing yourself a disservice. You are not going to be, you're gonna get caught at some point where someone's just gonna know that you're not competent in the area that you're in. Now, if you use it instead as a learning tool, that's where it should be used as, and not just for students. I'm talking myself too. I've learned so much stuff from this now that about things that I either didn't do a whole lot out in industry. I had a good understanding because I went through the program, but it's been a lot of time since I've refreshed on some of the theory stuff. But it's taken me back to some things, and I've learned a lot of new things on it. That it's like, hey, if you're using it for the right reasons and you're using it to improve your learning, and then you bring that learning to your class and that, then that's one thing. But if you're using it just to kind of get your way through, it's it's not the intent. I mean, you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah. So where I envision what you just showed is, imagine if we had the opportunity to have enough people in place that let's take Matt's automotive program at Dakota County Technical College, and you had someone that was a departmental lead. You had there was an administrative assistant person of some sort that you feed the content to the person that's doing what Matt just described to us, and you create that informational packet, and then that goes out to existing faculty or new faculty, and they've got to run through all the scenarios to prove the concept, and then it becomes something that I as a faculty member have experienced and gone through myself, and now I have the opportunity to use it in the classroom. But I think if I was just to create it and hand it out without going through the steps myself, that's, as you mentioned, the disservice, and you get caught soon.
Yep. I totally get where you're coming from with that. Yes.
All right.
Agreed.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's our biggest role, I think, with the use of AI is we need to be able to show our students the right way to use it, and colleagues for that matter. But for sure the students, because it is the new Google. It is the tool that is going to be out there for them in all across all the industries, and we can't fight it at this point anymore. It's just something that we got to show them how to use it the right way and show it how to use it in a way that they can improve themselves and learn from it. So just part of the part of it, I guess. So. All right. So next one I wanted to kind of go over is one that I thought was really, really, really surprising to me in the ability of ChatGPT. And again, any AI for that matter, but just because I kind of prefer to use ChatGPT. We were in class the other day, and I have actually had my students trial or purposefully test out ChatGPT just to see the accuracy of it and how good is it when it comes to looking up like service information is kind of where I'm going with this. So let's just ask ChatGPT, what is the torque spec of the cylinder head bolts on let's say 2020 Jeep Cherokee with a 3.6 liter engine. Oops. We, of course, had to check this up against service information. It was right pretty much every time. You can ask it even more specific questions. What are some other good ones I had? What
Can it
is
give you the diagram for the sequence of this?
It can't give you the diagram because it can't do images yet. It can create images, but they're not good. It's creating it with DALL-E 3. Maybe in Copilot or Gemini, they might be able to find you an image via a search, like a web search that might be able to reference it, or by a forum. So that's probably a way it could do it. But otherwise, no, not yet. Now, this is where when industry comes in and AI starts getting integrated into service information, then yes, I think this stuff is going to be insane when it comes to the ability to, improve productivity and to get the technicians to do what they need to do the correct way. So I'm going to ask it, what is the part number of the, oops. So there you go. It's got the part number there. For the most part, it has been mostly accurate when it comes to the part numbers. Depending on what type of vehicle it is, it sometimes is better than others on the ability to get it right the first time. I found that on most, we'll say, domestic manufacturers, it's done a better job of getting the parts right than those that might be more import vehicles. But I checked numerous parts against the part numbers that are provided by Stellantis for this, and they have been right. I'd say it's about 95% of the time. What I've found that is if ChatGPT says that the part number is typically this, at that point it's guessing, and you might not have the most accurate number. If it gives you a number, it most likely is that number, which is pretty surprising. And if you're in a program that you have to get your parts from outside vendors, can you find me this bolt from Napa? It can search all that stuff too. I'm not going to go crazy on how far I've tested this and its ability to find me certain parts by manufacturers and that, but it can. It's pretty insane. I'll show you another cool thing about ChatGPT, and I guess and again any AI, but I want to attach a file. I'm going to upload something from my computer. This is one of the coolest and maybe freakiest part of it. Oh, why is it not clicking? Click. What did I do? Oh, I froze it. Oh no. Oh, there we go. How's it going? Oh, hold on. It won't let me click it. Now I did it. Technical error. Ah, come on. No, no. I froze it up. It's not acknowledging my mouse and letting me click on that on my file I was going to do. And now I can't get back to my other part. Oh, there we go. Okay. Maybe because I wasn't in full screen. I bet you that's why with this one window. Let's try it again. Okay. There we go. Okay. So I've got a picture of a component that it's got an arrow pointing at it. I'm going to ask it, what is this? Okay, so I didn't specify what it was. So number one, because there's so many pictures out there and everything, what I'm going to say is, let's try that again. I'm working on 1998 Jeep with a 4.0 liter. I'm just going to attach it again so it doesn't go after that last comment that it made. Oh, okay, close. Not quite. I mean, it's getting close, but so I will show you a different one that I did that was on a more modern engine that it was able to accurately identify components out of it. Of course, I've got so many chats in here now. There's an easier way for me to find it. Let me share a different way. I saved it because I wanted to be able to share it again later. Right, sit down, yes. Where's my AI? Let's go big screen so I can see it. Where'd you go? Where's my AI file? Am I blind? No. That's weird.
I think it's looks like it's in the fourth
Oh,
row.
it's in the middle.
Yeah.
There it is. Thank you. I'm like, I know I got it in here. So anyways, this was a chat I had with it. And the ability of this thing to be able to recognize images is pretty insane. Where's it at? All right, I gotta pull it up there. Oh, come on. When I'm working on two screens, it's not being very helpful. Try to see. Come on. Why is it not letting me pull it up there? Oh, because I got big screen. Never mind. Sorry, being technical. I gotta minimize first, and then I can do it. There we go. Oh, no. Where'd it go? That's one we were just in. I'm losing my windows now. Oh, it's still down here. Come up here. There we go. Okay. My apologies for being a little slow on that. So this one here is a chat I had with ChatGPT, and it says, so I asked it, I'm working on a 2018 Jeep Wrangler with a 3.6. Can you tell me if this is the water pump? And here I was pointing at the alternator. And it said, nope, the thing you're pointing at is not the water pump. It appears to be the alternator. Alternator is responsible for charging the battery and so on. So it told me more about it. And then I pointed down there and I said, is it that down there? And it said, yes, the component you're pointing at is likely the water pump. It's connected to the lower radiator hose located near the front of the engine. So I did some more testing of it. I said, how about the intake air temp sensor? Is this it? And I knew it wasn't. I was purposefully pointing at the EGR valve on this thing. And it said, the component you're pointing at is not the air intake temp sensor. It's part of the engine's emission systems, possibly the purge valve. It didn't know specifically which one it was, but it knew it wasn't the intake air temp sensor. So then I went and I pointed at this right here, which is the intake air temp sensor. And I said, this guy, so it actually is able to use casual language to understand what you're asking. And it says, yes, the components you're pointing at is the intake air temp sensor. And it talks about a bit more about it. So I went and I tested this thing, over and over and over again. And other than this one here, it struggled with, because this engine is a Corvette engine and it's a very new Corvette engine. It didn't know what this was. It thought it was the intake manifold. However, it was, yes, it kind of looks like that, but it is not on this thing. But being that it's new, it didn't quite have it right. But you can go ahead and then you can go ahead and correct it and tell it what it is. And then it says, oh, you're right. Yep, that's what it is. And then it elaborates more on what that component is that you just told it was. So then I kept on going. I asked it, what is this? And it says it's an ignition coil. And then I kept on going and I asked it here without even pointing at them. I asked it, what are these connectors on this 3.6 liter Chevy engine? And it told me that it was the cam sensors and the variable valve timing solenoids. It is right. I kept on going. What's this one down by the oil pan? And it said it was the oil level sensor or the oil level switch. That is right. And then I asked about the two sensors that are above it, this one here and that one there. And it said that you got your crank sensor, and then it says it's your cam sensor and or knock sensor. It was right, but it was the knock sensor on the second one. So it's just really interesting how good that this thing is at identifying things, even though you're not pointing specifically at it, or it doesn't necessarily have even like all the details to it. Overall, it does a pretty good job. Now, again, you're going to have to fact check it, because not always did it get it right, but for the most part, it does a pretty darn good job. Now, how can we use this as, faculty in our programs? It can be used as a virtual shop assistant. I'm assuming that there's only one of you in your shop area, and maybe have, in my case, I've got up to 24 students. This is going to be a nice tool for students to be able to use maybe while they're waiting for me in the shop area, while I'm maybe working with another group. If they have a quick question, they can ask ChatGPT, is this the throttle position sensor? Is this the, whatever? So it can do that. They can also use it to ask other various service information related questions to it, which is pretty darn cool. So, thoughts so far?
Just amazing. I think one of the other ones that you shared with me in a conversation, you mentioned that you were able to take a picture of a timing chain and ask him if the timing chain is stretched or if there's a malfunction in the system, and it was able to look at that picture and analyze it and give you an answer.
Correct.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep. Yeah. So you could have failed components. A good example would be, let's just say students are doing an inspection on a car, and they find that maybe it's got a torn tie rod boot or something like that. ChatGPT can look at images that the students take and be able to confirm what they maybe are suspecting or what they observing in their inspection. So it's a pretty neat tool to be able to use it that way as well. Any other thoughts or questions on the examples I gave so far? Otherwise, what I could do too real quickly is just flip through the deck. I'm not going to go in detail on each one of them, but I can give you some ideas on the ways that I've been using it. And that way, if you come across some questions on, hey, how did you use it for that? I can do that. So once it loads up here. So it can create diagnostic scenarios. So it can simulate using just the language itself to be able to create scenarios that students can work through. I felt this was really good in class to be able to pull up as a group and then have the students kind of go through a find your own adventure diagnostic path with AI. So that was a really neat one. This one we should definitely be using to help our students be able to create good stories for the work orders that they're working on. AI can do a great job of kind of filling in the gaps when it comes to students will test this, found this for my result, tested this, found this, tested this, found this, ultimately found this was my problem. Going after those 3 C's, this tool really helps fill in those blanks when it comes to writing a really good story that justifies the amount of time that they had in that repair. Again, don't use this necessarily as a crutch, but as for having the students use it for figuring out how to better write stories in the future as they're documenting on their repair orders. We already talked about quizzes and LMS files, task sheets, we talked about that. Using AI to aid students in job seeking skills, creating cover letters, resumes, things like that. Use it for that, but also using it for job interview simulations. You can have the student go through and the AI can act as a shop manager and interview them. And at the end of it, give them feedback on how they did in their interview and things that they can improve on. So that's a really neat tool for this. You can create Kahoot quizzes with this, and it will make it into a file that you can just upload to Kahoot. So if you're one of those that likes to do those clicker style questions, this thing is great for that. We already talked about this for researching the repair process, torque specs, flow charts, you name it, you can find it by using AI. Like it can guide you through that whole process. We've been using it a lot in my class for students to research if a car's got a certain symptom, what things can possibly cause that symptom. This is a great exploratory tool for them to learn what things can cause the symptoms that they are observing. Flip in the classroom. So have the students research using AI and then present to the rest of the class, whatever the topic is. I've had them do something like this too. Sometimes they'll just stop my lecture in the middle of it and ask my students, what are the 4 types of circuit faults? Go, they'll use ChatGPT and search up the 4 circuit faults, and then they'll have to tell them to me, and then we'll cover them as a class together. So that works really well, but actually having them do the full presentation on whatever it is a great use of this. Creating PowerPoints, you can create PowerPoints with ChatGPT as instructors. Sometimes that is our bane, is trying to come up with all the stuff to put in it. AI can help you create all of that. This one I love, soft skills with customers. You can have AI act as an upset customer, and then the student has to work through the process of getting that customer kind of worked down and pleasing them and ultimately getting the problem fixed and working with them through the whole process, kind of acting as the service writer. Love this part of it. I'm going to use it quite a bit. You can create custom images. If you haven't noticed already, AI actually made all the images on this PowerPoint, but it can create some images. The only downside is they're not 100% accurate yet when it comes to creating an image of like a piston. It tries to do it, but eventually I'm imagining that it will eventually get there and be able to create you assets that you can use in PowerPoints in whatever it is that you need to use it in. This I love too. When it comes to you're up there talking about it, whatever it is, theory wise, and the student is just not grasping it. Say, have ChatGPT explain it in a different manner that you can easily explain it, such as electron flow and relating it to the flow of water. It does a perfect job of being able to explain things in a different method or a different manner that the students can grasp. So love that one. Identifying components and problems, I already talked about that, where it can identify failures in components and identify components in general. It can create a syllabus for you, and it also can create a quiz out of the syllabus, so that way you're sure the students read your syllabus. So I love that. It can look at lab scope patterns and identify what's going wrong with the pattern. If you've got one, let's just say you got shorted fuel injector, you share it with ChatGPT, it can identify that you have a shorted fuel injector. You can create rubrics with ChatGPT. This is a great use of it, especially if you're kind of new to higher education. It does a perfect job of creating rubrics. You can actually give it your assignment, tell it, what things maybe should be categories within the rubric, and it will do a great job of making that for you. You can create quizzes from YouTube videos, providing that it has a transcription of it. You can copy that transcription, throw it into ChatGPT or Copilot or whoever, and tell it to come up with a 10-question quiz on it. And that way, you know the students have watched the video. So, all right. I've thrown you quite a few ideas. Hopefully, most of them were somewhat useful, and maybe you can throw them into your class at some point. But I know we're getting close to actually are kind of at end of time here. So one last thing we do want you to do is take a moment to fill out a really brief survey about what you thought about this quick webinar, and then hopefully, we can get you to some of the other ones too. But I don't want to cut anyone off right now. If we have, a few minutes just to any residual questions that anyone has, I'd love to be able to, answer them real quick right now. Or if you want to reach out to me on the side at some point too, I would love to run you through a lot more of these scenarios that I've kind of worked up.
Matt, can you post the link in the chat?
Yeah, I can do that. I gotta exit the.
Kate just did, Matt.
I just
Okay.
did, yeah, so it's
Thank
right
you.
there. Yeah.
Perfect. But yeah, if you look at my chat history, it is amazing how much we have used this. There's even some things in here that isn't in service information, let's say Stellantis service information, that it is able to find. There was no chart that we could find for this coolant temp sensor resistance. And I said, hey, at 90 degrees Fahrenheit, we got a 2017 with a 3.6. What's the resistance of the coolant temp sensor? There it is. There's where it should be. And it was right. They ended up getting, I think it was like 11K ohm, right? Just barely over 11K ohms of it. So it was right where it needed to be.
Thank you so much for sharing all this. This is phenomenal.
Yeah, no problem. If our webinar was longer, I could have went probably 5-6 hours just talking about the stuff that I've been doing, playing with this. There's just so much useful stuff that you can do with AI. Oh, I did create a couple of teams. I'm sure most of you might already be on it. There's one that's kind of exclusive to Inver Hills and Dakota County Tech that is around AI, but then there's also one that is transportation related and AI, and then maybe how we can share and work together to just show how we use AI in the classroom to kind of benefit each other.
Hey, Matt, just briefly, what is the process, the operations for, like, if I have a video that I made in Kaltura and I'd like a 10-question true-false quiz based on that video?
Oh, that's a good question. Is there a way that, well, you should have a transcript in Kaltura. So
Okay,
copy your transcript and then paste it into whichever AI you choose and just tell it to create you a 10-question quiz out of it, and it will do that for you.
okay,
Yep. Yeah, as long as you got a transcript, it can do it.
okay. Nice.
Yep. Cool. All
Wonderful.
right. Well,
I'm going to stop recording here.
sure.